Hello Yu-Gi-Oh players and welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! And Leather Vests and Aviators. That's what we're changing the name of the show to, alright? Just go with it. Anyway, today I want to talk a little bit about the anti-meta. Yes, we are back to taking down the top tier. Today I want to talk a little bit about what the anti-meta looks like now, or what you need to do in order to have an anti-meta strategy in the current meta. And I'm going to talk a little bit about my new secret to taking down Dragosack. And before that, I have a couple of things I have to do. Anyway, first off, I want to do a quick update on my contest subscriber giveaway-ish thingy. Anyway, I'm currently working out the kinks on that. I may not actually end up doing it because it may not be a smart investment for me, because it's entirely possible that depending on my job situation for next year, I will have to quit Yu-Gi-Oh! After Nationals, so it's a distinct possibility. I'll keep you guys updated on that. Anyway, the other thing I want to take care of is there's a lot of stuff that I didn't cover in my last video, the one about, it was 2 videos ago. Anyway, my last Yu-Gi-Oh! And Business Casual thing, which was about after the Banhammer. A lot of things I didn't cover. I want to talk about that in another video, but for now, I'm going to stick to what I am doing here. So, Anti-Meta Now 2013 Dragosack format. What does it look like? So, the biggest problem with Anti-Meta right now, and in any really fast, extremely sacky format like this one, is that anti-meta is built on countering strategies. That usually means a lot of defensive work and a lot of taking down your opponent's resources. Anti-meta tends to be stun or control based. And in most cases, it is at least one of those. Anyway, so anti-meta usually does that. Now the problem with that happening in a faster format like this one is, in order to counter a strategy that generates tons of advantage very quickly, you have to either be able to generate tons of advantage quickly yourself, which tends to not be a thing in anti-meta, or you have to keep your opponent from using all of the cards of advantage that they have gained. And that's why in the 2013 Dragosack format, the most important anti-meta strategy is not necessarily a stun deal when your opponent tries to make a play and you take it away from them with like a torrential or something like that. It's a lockdown play where they can't even make that play at all. Now, previously, you've had your anti-meta standard stun style deck with your Ryos, your Fossil Dynas, and your Skill Drains and all sorts of fun things like that. And during slower formats, that's actually a very viable thing. Actually, earlier this format, you saw that kind of macro stun thing running around with the Barbaros and the DD Survivor and the macros and the skill drains, where it was basically a stun style, take away your resources, hit you with one card at a time style thing. But now, you have to be working with a deck that works around lockdown in order to be an anti-meta. Now, what is lockdown? Well, lockdown is basically something that keeps your opponent from using their resources. This is one of the reasons why Evil Swarm is so good right now, is because Ophion performs a lockdown on Mermails and on Dragosack, and it can protect that lockdown very, very effectively. Which means that they can have tons of advantage, but that doesn't mean anything if they can't use any of those cards, and that tends to be true while Ophion is on the board. If you can protect that Ophion, you have a lockdown strategy. Now, there are a lot of other cards that perform lockdown strategies on these decks. One of my favorites right now are the Vanities cards. That's Vanity's Emptiness and Vanity's Fiend. Vanity's Fiend is the tribute summon monster with the 2400 attack that says neither player can special summon monsters, and Vanity's Emptiness is the one that is a continuous trap that says neither player can special summon monsters and destroy this card if one of your cards is sent to the graveyard. Now, that's one of my favorite cards for this format, simply because your opponent can take on a -2 against it by discarding their baby dragon and their big dragon to try and get another dragon. It doesn't work because then you just chain that Vanity's Emptiness and they've hit it. One of the greatest things about this card is its greatest weakness is MST, and people have stopped main decking MST for the most part. So unless they happen to have that like one of MST in their hand, at the time of activation, you can force your opponent into going at minus, which turns it into kind of a chainable, continuous solemn warning thing minus the cost, which is really, really cool. I want to remind you guys that counter to capital G's little statement thing, Macro is still relatively effective. The reason why? Well, the dragons say that you have to send them to the graveyard to activate their effects, which means Blaster can't take down Macro, which means that they can't build up the resources in their graveyard that they need to do in order to make their big play. So Macro is still an extremely effective card, especially turn 1, especially with something like Vanity's Emptiness to supplement it, or Deck Lockdown, which is another, of course, lockdown card, which keeps your opponent from summoning monsters from the deck, or keeps everybody from summoning monsters from the deck, or adding cards from the deck to their hand, which is an extreme disadvantage for dragon monsters. The same is relatively true in facing, well, I suppose you would have to say Evil Swarm, even though that's one of the anti-meta decks, and against Prophecy, and against Mermails. Lockdown is still extremely important. Things like my favorite 2-card combo of the format, Macro and Anti-Spell Fragrance, is a very effective anti-meta strategy because it locks your opponent down from using all of their resources. It's especially good against the Judgment Day play, where your opponent tries to go off in one turn, and you use Anti-Spell Fragrance, and it's like, guess what? You can't. You can only use one of those cards per turn. It's very, very good, and then it keeps them from using things later. So, like I said, Lockdown, important, keeps your opponent from using their cards. Same thing with Evil Swarm. Again, Vanity's Emptiness is an extremely effective card, keeping your opponent from actually using all the cards that they gain advantage over you with. This is important for decks like, say, what's it called? The deck that I've been using forever, Chain B and Thunder Family. Lockdown is a very important thing with Vanity's Emptiness, and with Macro, and with Messenger of Peace. These are all very important things if you want to perform an anti-meta strategy. So the anti-meta is viable this format, but it doesn't look like what it used to look like. It's very, very lockdown based. Now, the thing that I really wanted to talk about in this video, and that I probably have advertised at least in the photo or in the title, is my new secret to taking down Dragosack. Now, before, Dragosack could be kind of an issue if you didn't have those compulsories, and even with compulsory it's a little bit slow, but I've discovered a way to get rid of Dragosack, and even the first turn Light and Darkness Dragon, absolutely reliably. Now, your opponent is going to summon their tokens with Dragosack, and if they summon their tokens, they're either going to leave them there, or they're going to use them to get LADD. Now, if they do that, you can use the tokens and the Dragosack as tribute fodder for Lava Golem. Or you can use the Dragosack or the Light and Darkness Dragon as tribute fodder for a, what's it called? That one thing. Volcanic Queen. That's it. So your opponent puts that Light and Darkness Dragon on the field, and the Dragosack on the board, and they think that they're set. You smack a Lava Golem on top of that. And if you're playing a Mermail deck, you don't care if you can't normal summon or set that turn. You just discard Hells of Things and summon that Megalo, or that Lead, or summon a Big Eye. You can take that Acid Golem, not Acid Golem, Lava Golem, and you can use it as your 3000 beater if you want. If you're playing something like, say, Thunder Family, you can put it on the board and put a Messenger of Peace down. Your opponent is stuck. They've got a 3000 attack point monster that can't attack, and it deals itself 1000 damage every turn. So it aids you in your strategy, it gets rid of the Dragosack and the Light and Darkness Dragon, and it's extremely effective. Now, the reason why I like Acid Golem over, what's-her-face, Volcanic Queen, is A, because Volcanic Queen can choose to do damage to you, and that is a problem, and B, because Lava Golem is a 1-for-1, even if you don't destroy it, because it takes down 2 cards, and you only use 1 card from your hand. Or no, it takes down 2 cards, summons itself to your opponent's side of the field, and you lose it from your hand. So your opponent gains 1, loses 2, and you lose 1. So it's a 1-for-1 in the long run, while Volcanic Queen is a neg. But you can always run over the Volcanic Queen and make her into a 1-for-1. So I kind of like the Lava Golem better, but I think that both of them are very effective depending on the strategy you're wanting to use. If you've got a card like Photon Thrasher, then you can just slap that Volcanic Queen on top of your opponent's monster, run over it with the Thrasher, and then you're good. You've got it covered. They don't even get to use LADD's effect because it wasn't destroyed. So cards like that, like those two, and I don't know if there are any others, there are probably a couple of others, are going to be really helpful against Dragosack and LADD. So that's my taking down the top tier video for the day. That's business casual for today too. So if you guys have any comments, leave them down in the comment section below. If you liked this video, hit that thumbs up button. If you hated it, let me know why. And then hit that subscribe button for more Yu-Gi-Oh! Madness. I got a jet, guys. See ya.